consider myself an advocate in 2002 when Abby Emanuelson, who is the Vice President of Public Policy for the Carolinas chapter, asked me to be on the North Carolina Government Relations Committee. You might say I was a reluctant advocate. Sure, I was comfortable raising money for MS through the bike tour and promoting research as our chapter's research advocate, but I didn't know much about the workings of state government. I didn't see myself as especially qualified to represent the MS community. After all, I was doing pretty well. I had insurance with prescription coverage. I was able to get my injectable, had a modest copay. My disease was responding well to the therapy. Surely there was someone else out there with greater challenges than me who was better suited to be the face of MS. In 2005, Abby asked me to come down to the General Assembly to attend a committee meeting regarding the North Carolina High-Risk Insurance Pool. The risk pool had just been added to the committee's schedule at the last minute, and Abby needed an activist quickly. I lived nearby, so I was able to come on short notice. And that began my real journey as an advocate. For MS Day at the General Assembly, which was held in the spring, we decided to invite the representatives and the senators to an MS breakfast where we would have a number of people affected by MS tell their insurance story succinctly in a vignette form. We wanted a broad representation of speakers from across the state, and we needed someone from the western counties. So I told Abby I would send an email to some people I knew out there. My email explained the kind of stories we were looking for and what the high-risk insurance pool was meant to do. To add urgency to my request, I used myself as an example. I explained that while my husband had group insurance through his employer, which was a software company in the silicon chip industry, we would be in big trouble if he lost his job. At the time, the Research Triangle Park was experiencing heavy layoffs. We knew many friends, most of whom were engineers in the high-tech industry, who had been laid off by large companies such as Nortel and IBM and Glaxo. If we were without insurance, we would have to start paying full price for my medicine, which was about $2,000 a month at the time. There would be MRIs and office visits to the neurologist to pay for in full. I knew if I had a serious exacerbation, steroid infusions, physical therapy, and more medications would be in the works too. It wasn't hard to do the math. All the money we had set aside for our two sons' college education and our retirement could be used up long before the boys finished school and my husband retired. I realized then most people do not appreciate how easily they can become uninsured, nor do they realize how quickly things change when you have a pre-existing condition. And make no mistake, we are all free something. It's just a matter of time. Before I sent the email, I showed it to Abby for input, and she said, "You have a story, it's right here." That was a light bulb moment for me. I realized then that just because I was doing well physically didn't mean this disease wasn't having a significant impact on my life. In fact, I recognized my MS had dictated the kind of career my husband chose to follow. We knew I couldn't get individual insurance, so he had to work for a company that offered group coverage. Going out on his own to begin a startup or some other entrepreneurial effort was out of the question for him and for me because of my healthcare needs and coverage. I wondered how many other people were making the same decisions we were, I thought, there's a lot of people who could be starting new companies, developing new technologies and innovations, creating new jobs. And isn't that what the United States needs to remain technological and economic leaders in the world? So I agreed to be one of the presenters at the breakfast. For my concluding remark, I said, when I was first diagnosed, I thought the overriding concern we would have was how is my MS going to progress? But I was wrong. It was insurance. Fast forward to that fall, again, I was attending another committee meeting for the high-risk pool, and one of the representatives that had attended the MS breakfast commented she had heard a lady speak about MS and how her biggest concern wasn't her disease, but insurance. That was another light bulb moment for me. Sometimes the work you do today doesn't pay off until later, and sometimes it's much later down the road. I'm happy to say the North Carolina High Risk Insurance Pool was officially established in 2007 and began covering members in January of 2009. I remember thinking the night the bill passed, wow, this is really great. Now I won't have to be running down to the General Assembly all the time. You've heard the saying, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. Well, several months later, I got a phone call. The caller ID said State of North Carolina, and a nice lady was asking me what my availability for meetings was. I truly thought she had the wrong number. She detected my confusion and said, did you not know the speaker has appointed you to be on the administrative board of the High Risk Insurance Pool? No, ma'am, I replied. She said, well, I have a copy of the letter right here. What's the date on that letter? I said, August 10th. Well, she was calling me on August 12th. And if the speaker put a stamp on the letter and mailed it himself, I probably wouldn't have received it yet. So you see, sometimes things can move fast in government. I went to the first board meeting, which started out with introductions. As each member was introduced, the chair would say their name, their position, and how long their term was for. There was a vice president from Blue Cross and Blue Shield, and another one from United Healthcare. There was a VP hospital administrator, and a health policy expert, and as well as an experienced physician, the owner of a small business, and an insurance agent association representative. Each one was serving for 1 year. Then they introduced me. I didn't have a fancy title. I was simply Elizabeth Page, Raleigh resident. If you've ever wondered what the average generic Raleigh resident looks like, here I am. Then the chair said, and she is serving for 3 years. That really caught me off guard. But I agreed to serve nonetheless, because it is too important to have patient representation on committees and boards that increase access to health care and coverage. It was a daunting task to put together an insurance company in 6 months and promote it so people could become enrolled in the program, but we did it. And early in 2010, we began to feel like we could take a deep breath. The program was running well, and we were moving from the startup phase to the maintenance phase. Then the Affordable Care Act was passed in February, and the Federal High Risk Pool was established to give people with pre-existing conditions who've been uninsured for 6 months or more access to health coverage until the health exchanges kick in 2014. In North Carolina, the governor and the insurance commissioner asked our board to implement the federal program, and so to work again we went. And now we administer both pools simultaneously. So my wish continues to come true, increasing access to health care and health coverage for those who've been shut out of the system and need it the most. Here's my takeaway message to you. Don't underestimate the strength of your experiences. As a group, I think people with chronic illnesses are so good at adapting and so accustomed to making accommodations that we forget most people don't have to deal with what we do. Our story is important, and it needs to be heard. And you won't be just telling your story today. You will be telling the story of many other people affected by MS who face the same challenges as you and aren't able to be here today. Today, you are speaking for everyone who lives with MS. We'll be covering a lot of territory in the halls of Congress today, both literally and in terms of issues. So if you develop a blister, give me a shout. I still have my blister kit from the challenge walk with me. Have a great day. Advocate, ask big, and wish big, because you never know what the fruits of the seeds you plant today might yield.